Really quickly, it's funny because I think I have it stuck in your head now, but I think you did say
Did I mess up?
You
No,
think you
my
said
God.
Bensley King-Adir.
I did. You did because I did.
Full
Kingsley
disclosure.
Ben-Adir, yeah.
Full disclosure. When we were talking about the show and we were watching it, I randomly just said Bensley instead of Kingsley Ben-Adir because I was like, you know what, I gotta give him like a cool like London name.
It's in my head now,
like bruv,
Kingsley Ben-Adir.
So I was like, you know what, I'm just start calling him Bensley, and if we ever meet him, I'm gonna be like, yo, do your mates call you Bensley? And he's probably gonna be like, no,
no,
but
that's not my name. First of all,
but I did get it. I did get it stuck in your head. I'm so sorry.
You did get it stuck in my head.
Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of the first 2 episodes of Secret Invasion by Marvel Studios. My name is Shahbaz and I am one of your hosts. Alongside me are, there might be a couple of Skrulls, Daniel and Anthony. You have to figure out as the audience though, if you're watching this on YouTube, which one of them looks like a Skrull, and if you're listening to this on a podcast app, which one of them sounds like a Skrull.
Well, I was like pulling off a mask, but they could just transform. I could just change it to anything.
It's not Mission Impossible.
I could just turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger right now, and I'm him.
It almost confirms that, Daniel, you're not a Skrull.
Because I don't know how to do it?
That's what a Skrull would say, because they don't want you to know that they know, right? This guy, now, and he has a green light. He has a green light in the back. So do you, Shay, but his is more predominant.
You're wearing a Green Knight sweater. The Green Knights are literally the Skrulls. That's what they call them.
That's true.
This is not a Green Knight sweater. It's a yellow Knight sweater.
It's a yellow Knight
yellow servant sweater. Yellow servant sweater. Well, you know what, guys? We'll find out soon enough which one he's a Skrull. Maybe by the end of this episode, one of you will reveal.
I think it's just you, Shahbaz. Like,
what?
in all honesty,
that's
like,
true.
You're deflecting a lot of attention on us.
You
have a yellow light. You have a green light. You're like,
I'm just like stop and go. Know. I'm like slow down, but go. Slow down.
Like
go.
What are we doing here? I don't know what to do to approach you.
Yeah. If anything, I'm technically with you and Anthony right now because Anthony's yellow knight right now or yellow person, and you're green. So there we go.
There you go. I like that.
There we go. Well, of course, this is one of the most anticipated shows that Marvel Studios is coming out with. And of course, it will be available on Disney Plus June 21st. And I can't wait to talk about it. Before we do that, before we even think about doing that, let's talk a little bit about what you're experiencing right now. You're experiencing in 4DX the movie podcast experience. This is sound, sight, smell. I hope not smell, but you're getting everything that the movie podcast delivers because we are available on YouTube. We're available on podcast apps. If you want to interact with us, guess where you can do that? There's an app called Discord. Go into your app store, download the app, make an account, wait 30 minutes for the emails to come in, and then eventually join our chat because
you're making it so much more difficult sounding. You're actually turning people away from joining our Discord. Instead of just tapping on like the link in our show notes, you're like, listen, you got to apply for a visa. Once you get the B32A form in the mail, sign it, mail it, and then you're going to get something back, and you're going to fax that. Fax it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to give the true fans will go through the process to join us.
They will, and they have. Because lots have joined our Discord. Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, people are joining every day. It's like, are we giving something away for free?
Our episodes right now.
That's true. Yeah, we are.
Wait till we start
charging for them.
Oh, no.
But yeah, of course, like I said, you can follow us at The Movie Podcast on all social media platforms out there. And you can also follow us individually with all that information down below in the links. Go ahead and leave us a comment on YouTube, subscribe to us, give us 5 stars, give us a thumbs up. And on Spotify, you can leave a little QAs. You can be like, hey, I didn't like this episode, or hey, I like this episode, or hey, Daniel's a Skrull. I don't know. Whatever you guys want to do, whatever you guys want to say, that's the place to do it.
It's possible. Everything's possible.
Everything's possible. Before we kind of get into the show, anything you guys want to say? This is your platform as well. This is your moment. Let us know what the world needs to hear.
I would just want to direct the attention over to all the incredible episodes that we have been releasing.
So many.
We dropped a really cool interview this week. So there's this other Marvel project that came out recently called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. If you've somehow not seen that movie, go out and watch it. Then check out all of our coverage. We have a review. We have our interview with the cast of the film, Haley Steinfeld, Shameik Moore, and the directors. And guess what else? We had Daniel Pemberton, the composer of the soundtrack, on our show to talk all about it. We had about 20 minutes with him, so we really got to dive deep into every itsy bitsy little detail of the right? You like
itsy
that, right?
bitsy
Of the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse score. It's a great time, and it was just announced today that he's also doing the score for Michael Mann's Ferrari movie. So like, you know what? We're just breaking news left, right, and center, even though we didn't break any news in that,
I was like,
interview.
did we break news?
But we had somebody who was part of breaking news. No, but in all seriousness, we had a great time with him. That was a really fun interview. And we have lots more coming. We have Peter Sohn joining us later this week for Elemental. And you know what? Later this month, who else? Who knows? We had some more stuff coming.
Again, we're talking about Secret Invasion. It will be on Disney Plus on June 21st, and it has a stacked cast, an absolute stacked cast. Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, Cobie Smulders, Martin Freeman, Kingsley Ben-Adir, Olivia Colman, Emilia Clarke, and Don Cheadle as well. That's just to name a few of the amazing characters that kind of show up in this show. All the episodes, all 6, are directed by Ali Selim, and of course, we're only going to be talking today about the first 2, and we will be going spoiler free. So don't worry if you're wondering, hey, are these guys going to give away the ending when Thor shows up and kills everybody? No, of course we wouldn't tell you about that, because that would be a spoiler, and we don't talk about spoilers on here. And I want to take too much time. I want to give it to Daniel to give us our first reactions for Marvel Studios' Secret Invasion.
I literally was going to start my first reaction by saying, guys, Thor shows up and kills everybody. Very out of character.
Yeah.
Very
if
out
that
of character.
happens at the end, go play the lottery.
Oh yeah, my gosh, yeah, we'll play the lottery and hire us, Disney, because clearly we're on a very similar wavelength.
Yeah,
who could have predicted that?
Yeah.
But let's talk about Secret Invasion. The Secret Invasion comic is probably one of my favorites that I've read growing up, and I think what makes that comic so special is that idea of these characters that you've trusted, these characters that you know. They could be Skrulls. They could be anybody. Who can you trust? And when you're going into Secret Invasion on Disney Plus, it's a really interesting spot because we're also telling a story that's very grounded and gritty and full of suspense, but it doesn't have the, all of the superheroes that we're used to having access to in the comic books, right? In the comic books, we're getting like the Illuminati's kind of introduced in that. We're getting Doctor Strange and Iron Man and Black Bolt and all these characters together to figure out this invasion that's going on Earth. But what I really do like about this show is Samuel L. Jackson. I think he's fantastic. I think we finally get to see a man who is just exploring, the pathos of someone who just has the weight of the world on his shoulders all of the time. And I think it leads to some really cool moments in these first 2 episodes. Now, each episode is about an hour, so those shocking moments that we're getting feel a little few and far between. And I know we're just getting started with the series, and I don't want to, obviously, like we said, we're not going to reveal any major plot points or any major, happenings of the show. But where this first episode ends was shocking. I truly was just like, oh my God, like, are we doing this? We're actually doing this. And as the second episode goes and begins, a little bit of that steam is taken away. But I think I'm also just getting a little bit more calibrated to the type of show this is. This isn't a giant crossover event. This really is a political drama. We're leaning into those moments of these characters, and especially Samuel L. Jackson, who are really getting to explore a lot more of his Nick Fury and a lot more of the vulnerability of Nick Fury than we're used to seeing in any of the films. We have Nick, who showed up in pretty much everything in phase 1. We had him show up in phase 2. And, he was really sidelined for phase 3 of the MCU. And we haven't seen him on screen since Far From Home. And we knew that he was up in space. We really didn't know what else was going on with him. So we're starting to get all of those answers. And Secret Invasion is going to raise even more questions for you. And with 4 episodes left, I'm really hoping that we can, find a way to tie this all together, because this feels like an Avengers level threat. There's literally a joke in it saying this is like, should we call the Avengers? It's like, yeah, like this is a big deal. Like, you could have easily had an Avengers film called Avengers Secret Invasion, because you want to have all of those characters interact with one another. So this is a very different side of it. It's a lot more espionage. It's a lot more darker than I think that we've seen before in the MCU. There's some moments, and we've seen with the rating, it's 16 plus. It's a mature rating, and I like that we're leaning into that. I hope the next 4 episodes continue on that path, because I like that it's having a darker tone. I just hope that the story picks up a lot more, and I really hope that we get to see a lot more of Olivia Colman and Bensley King-Adir, who are great in the show so far. They have great presence, but they're used very sparingly right now. So with 4 episodes left, there's a lot to balance, and I know I've been talking a while. I'm going to shoot it back at you guys.
Really quickly, it's funny because I think I have it stuck in your head now. But I think you did say
Did
Bensley.
I mess up?
You think you said Bensley King-Adir.
I did. You did, because I did.
Full
Kingsley
disclosure.
Ben-Adir,
Full disclosure. When we were talking about the show and we were watching it, I randomly just said Bensley instead of Kingsley Ben-Adir because I was like, what? I gotta give him like a cool like London name.
It's in my head now.
Like bruv,
Kingsley Ben-Adir.
So I was like, you know what? I'm just start calling him Bensley, and if we ever meet him, I'm gonna be like, yo, do your mates call you Bensley? And he's probably gonna be like, no,
no,
but
that's not my name. First of all,
but I did get it. I did get it stuck in your head. I'm so sorry.
You did get it stuck in my head. No, it's okay. Kingsley Ben-Adir. I apologize if you are. And why wouldn't you be listening to this really awesome review of your show? But yeah,
of course,
that's kind of where I'm at right now. Mm-hmm. There's a lot it's balancing. I'm really hoping it's going to stick the landing. With 4 episodes left, there is a lot of ground they got to cover still.
Yeah, and what I get a lot of what you're saying there, Daniel. I think with this show, the first episodes really are trying to get the ball rolling, and I think like what you said, the first episode does end on a point where you're like, oh my god, like wow, okay, they're actually going to be doing this, and then the second episode kind of doesn't really pick up the pace of what we're trying to see. I think the trailers and the marketing have kind of positioned the show to be something more akin to what we got with Andor, where it's more of like this spy espionage thriller. I'd say this is less thriller, more drama. There's good moments in here where you feel that thrill, but they're way too few and far between for it to be a committed thriller. But Anthony, please give us your thoughts, your first reactions on Secret Invasion.
Well, Secret Invasion in the comic book world is a very big event. It involves pretty much every superhero, and it really ties into the fact that we really don't know who to trust. I think that was the catchline of the series. Who do you trust? And I was very curious to see how Marvel tackles such a big event. You got Nick Fury, who has been in space, and with Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel, tying the Skrulls in that sense, and then bringing them into their own storyline with this invasion. I was just curious, like, how do you tackle such a huge, storyline? Because you have no heroes really. There's no Thor, there's no Captain America, the Avengers. That idea, those are not in this world. And I always thought, like, man, Disney's very ambitious with this tackling Secret Invasion just for Disney Plus. And at that time I thought, like, holy, Disney Plus is going to be like this monumental streaming platform, and it's going to make movies that are supposed to be in the theater on TV. And the first 2 episodes really showcase where the direction Secret Invasion is going. It is going with a political drama, then the political thriller or espionage action that I think a lot of people have maybe read in the books, and hoping to have like some sort of hero interaction with these characters. I couldn't connect with the first 2 episodes. I know I tell you guys all the time, like, you got 15 minutes in a new series. You have 15 minutes to get my attention, and if you can't grab that, captivate me within that 15 minutes, you've lost me. And I felt very lost in these first 2 episodes. I think episode 1 ends with a shocker, but I feel like that's not like that type of shock is just it's unexpected, but also I didn't feel anything when it happened. Like, I didn't feel like, I just thought, wow.
You question, right? Like, you question, like, is this gonna stick? Is this gonna stay?
Exactly.
Yeah, and also you mentioned your 15-minute rule. That's also something that you've told Shahbaz and I about, just talking to us in general. Like, you guys actually have 15 seconds to keep me awake in this conversation.
He's like Gordon Gekko, He's like just like over there, like, listen, I got calls to make, so you got 15 minutes to sell me.
Well, like, I don't want to bring Andor into the picture, because Andor is unique and it's a different unit.
I already brought it. Don't worry, you can take it.
But it's such a, like, you within 15 minutes of Andor, you are hooked. You know what the story's about. You are gravitated to Cassian's story. 15 minutes into this, I just felt I wasn't connected with Nick Fury. Even the cast feels like they were disconnected with Nick Fury. And that's that he's been on a spaceship with what's the spaceship called? Saber. And he's been there for a very long time. So this is the first time we've seen him, and he's different. He's not the cool, collective, confident,
knows everything, right?
Nick Fury. Like, he's so broken, and I don't know how I feel about that, because what was he doing on that ship for so many years? I'm very curious to see where these next 4 episodes go. I think for me personally, I'm going to probably wait and watch it all together, and hopefully I can gravitate to the story more than waiting weekly, because these first 2 episodes just were a little bit tedious to watch. I right after we watched it, I totally forgot what it was about. Like I forgot who Emilia Clarke is, and I forgot who the main villain of this story is, and there's so many different things that we're gonna talk about in the coming weeks, but I just couldn't connect with it.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of that you're also saying. I think that I also related with as well in this show. Let's talk about that. We won't talk about what the big ending was of episode 1, obviously, because it is pretty massive what happens. But I remember as soon as it happened, I was kind of just saying to you guys, I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't know if it really matters. Like, it's huge, but I don't know if it matters because this hasn't really been a play for quite a long time. So for it to just happen now is kind of like, oh, we did check off a big moment that'll shock fans, but does it have anything that actually has stake in it? And that's kind of where I worried. I'm curious about where this show is going to go because I really like Olivia Colman's character. I think she handles this level of like dastardly evil that kind of makes the show feel a bit more than just a drama. And then you have someone
Mhm.
like, Kingsley Ben-Adir, who seems interesting, and he's got like such a presence when he's on screen, and he's very cool when he's being evil. Like there's like this level of like, I'm really intrigued by what you're going to do
There's
next.
suave. He
There's
has a suave to him. Yeah, he has
That's what I would
very much a
say.
suave to
And I
him.
think
Yeah.
I remember like all three of us, or I wasn't sure if it was you, Anthony, or Daniel, that was like, that's like a James Bond-esque character right there. There's that
He
level
is
that
James Bond.
he is Bond. Bensley King-Adir. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm
Kingsley
saying it right
Ben-Adir.
now.
Can
He's Bond. He just has
Kingsley
the look.
Bondadir?
He has the
Bondadir?
charm.
Bondadir.
He has the look. He has and like, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We need more of him. We
I
really need more of him in the show. Right?
totally agree. And I like I said, my curiosity's peaked. I really want to know where the story does unravel in the next episodes, but I'm not hooked. I'm not thinking about this show a lot more than after watching it because
Yeah.
it didn't present me with just this mind-blowing experience. And I know that, my God, like, well, you always want something mind-blowing. It's like, well, I want to be at least entertained. And while I got some portions of that, because these episodes are about an hour long, they're so spaced out.
Yeah, you want to feel. I feel where episode 1 ended, it was just like, oh my God, like where does this go?
We're
from
gonna
here?
go.
And that's where episode 2 ends. It feels like such more of a almost of a cleaner ending. So I'm like, oh, that sense of urgency that you've built up in that first episode, the ending of the first episode over the second episode, so there's some really cool moments and interaction with characters from the MCU that we've known for a really long time in it. There's some moments where you're just like, oh, like this, how you're ending episode 2 really isn't a big kickoff to
It feels
what's
like the
coming
end
next.
of the season, to be honest with you. Like the end of episode
It
2 was
does,
like,
yeah.
oh, is the show done?
Yeah, it was a very interesting spot to end too. So now I'm more like cautiously like curious of like, okay, like where's the urgency going forward? There's a lot of interesting cards in play right now, but as it all is going to unravel in the next 4 episodes, we've seen pretty much 30% of the show at this point, right? So or 33.333% of the show. That's a big chunk of this story. Now you have to really find a way to tie it all together. And, we really haven't seen season 2 for any of these Disney Plus shows so far, other than Loki, but we have seen their events play out on the big screen. We just got word today that every single Marvel movie has pretty much been delayed either 6 months to a year to even further out. So you're curious, how is this show going to impact stories going forward? We also know Kevin Feige and Marvel are really going to start slowing down the output because it was a lot for a really long time. So I'm curious where Secret Invasion really is going to end up on the story wise and what's going to affect the larger picture going forward.
I think once this series is done, I think a really good conversation that we're going to have is, would this have been better as a movie, or would this, or did the extension of a show benefit the story that they were trying to tell? But Anthony, please go ahead.
Well, I would say, Shay, that it's better off as a show because you can really spend time with the characters. It's just the supporting characters around Nick Fury are not big enough for the event. Like, it didn't feel like there was an invasion happening, and this is, in the comic books, the
Well, it's a
invasion is.
secret, man.
I know it's a secret, but imagine you had characters, and this is where the ambition level goes. It's like, well, we can't have Iron Man because he's dead. We can't have Captain America because he's a different Captain America. We can have we can have Sam Wilson Captain America, but you know what? He doesn't have his movie yet, so we can't get him in this series. But maybe he's a Skrull. So there's a lot of things that you need the heroes in a universe in an event like this, because then you can figure out, okay, who's a Skrull, who's not. Because
Right.
the trailer for this series really focuses on it being an espionage thriller. And I dug that. I'm like, oh, this is kind of like Winter Soldier vibes, and that's cool. But the moment you go into this series, the first 2 episodes, the pacing lacks energy. It just there's so many things that I'm watching, and I'm like, I would cut that out. I would cut that out. I would speed this up. I would put this
Tighten
in.
it up. Tighten it up.
Oh, there was so much, but it almost feels like I don't know if it's on purpose that they want to showcase Nick Fury in such a mannerism where he's tired. So that's what
Mhm.
this the series is. He's a little tired, so is the series drawn out. But I just hope that the next 4 episodes really pace it up, because I really don't know if this is going to be a winner for a lot of Marvel uh, viewers, because they want to see something. They want to see those worlds connect.
Right.
Yeah, and when you think of like the larger characters, like I kept thinking watching the show, I'm like, man, like how cool would it be if like this is a story and Captain America is in this, right? Especially Cap, like there's a lot of storylines, and I know the grander Marvel universe, where a lot of question marks on where the MCU, the direction it's going, what stories are going to be implemented, the Fantastic Four and Avengers and all of that. I feel like I'm hoping they have a vision of where this is going to go. But yeah, 4 episodes to go. There's going to be a lot to unpack once we see the full story.
And you have to wonder, and this is a thought that's kind of coming to my head right now, is they can't take gigantic swings with the Disney Plus shows, because they have to be aware that not everyone's going to see them as prerequisite to a movie that's going to, gather more of a mass of people and more money for them. So where like the wild thought of, let's just say hypothetically, Fantastic Four is introduced in this show, that probably won't happen or can't happen because
No, it definitely won't.
right? Like I'm like I know I'm just like I don't know.
Yeah, no,
never, but
I know.
it won't happen because you can't. So then sometimes these shows just kind of feel like filler versus actually putting in a lot more of a story effort. And
Right.
you kind of I don't know. It's just a thought.
And that, no, it's true, and I think that's the nature of that's the nature of the MCU right now, right? We have stories, and I love that they could take swings creatively and showcase characters that we that weren't going to get films on their own, like Miss Marvel. We've had a lot of interesting, I think, stories, but it's also that thing with the MCU shows where we're like, oh, but the finale doesn't always stick it, or like the ending of it doesn't always stick. So imagine going into Multiverse of Madness not having watched WandaVision, right? So it's like you're so right, Trey. Like there's moments where you're like, yeah, you know what? Not everyone's going to watch every Disney Plus show. You can't. So there's just too much content, quote unquote, content out there. Right?
Secret Invasion is just too big of an event to be even on in a series or in a movie, because they did Civil War, and they did it in a different way, but Civil War really worked well with the context of what they were trying to get to.
Yeah, for
Secret
sure.
Invasion,
they made that work, right?
It's different. It is a bigger event than, I would say, Secret Invasion is a bigger event than
Civil
War was. It's very close to the Avengers Endgame type of thing, because think about it, every single person could be a Skrull, and you don't know.
Yeah.
That's a huge event. That's crazy. And that's what happened in the books. Like I remember Spider-Woman becoming a Skrull, and like, oh my God, how long has she been a Skrull in the comics? Yeah. And that was since the first new Avengers book that came out way ago. But that was shocking. But yeah, I don't know what this series is going to shock you with, other than maybe the first episode.
Yeah, I mean, and there's going to be more episodes. Obviously, there's going to be 4 more that are coming out, and we're probably going to be talking about them on main episodes, or we'll do some reviews here and there, depending on obviously how the show kind of goes for us. But for now, give us your thoughts. Let us know what you think. If you have watched the show now, obviously if you're watching this after the show comes out, let us know what you think. Join our Discord, leave a comment, leave a review. What are you anticipating the show to be about? Let us know as well, because there's a lot of people looking forward to it. We just came off a very amazing Across the Spider-Verse movie, so the Marvel fever is still running high, and we haven't gotten some MCU in a little bit. I mean, the last thing was what, Ant-Man or
Guardians?
No, Guardians. Sorry, and Guardians was fantastic, so that's great. So
Yeah.
we're
But so different,
well.
right? Like
So different.
totally different
Very.
fields of like, this is like one of the most grounded things Marvel has ever done versus
Yeah.
Guardians, which is like
Out
literally like a space opera. It's
Even
wild.
though Secret Invasion is literally aliens, so it's kind of wild,
and
right?
it's funny to think that, right?
Yeah,
It's like
it's
they're
kinda
aliens,
wild.
but it's very grounded. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, we're the Movie Podcast. You can follow us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. You can see all of our show notes down below. Leave us a comment, leave us a review, give us a thumbs up, leave us some love. If you leave us some hate, then you already gave us a view. So thank you for that as well. Thank you, and thank you, Daniel, giving a little. What is that again? What, like rubbing sticks together?
No,
For
like,
shame.
no.
For
For
shame.
shame.
For shame.
For shame.
Yeah.
For
Don't
shame,
do
for
it.
shame.
Yeah.
For shame. That was This Time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.